if you feel like every single relationship that ended was not your fault, it's your fault. I'm just in my bed. I have a lot of thoughts. I look crazy, scarf on, but don't worry, these braids are fresh. And yeah, I just wanted to like talk about some stuff, and I'm like, let me hurry up and just upload this for later. I don't know who's gonna see it, but I just wanted to upload my mindset. I don't really use Twitter, don't really use Instagram like that, but I really enjoy YouTube. It's like private but not private. This week y'all tripping because y'all are getting rid of my podcast, my favorite podcast, because of y'all egos and your respectability politics. Okay, pretty much the Joe Budden Podcast and Brownies in the City, y'all all having drama and y'all need to chill. Like, I'll just give a quick synopsis about what happened, and just me as a listener and also selfish at the same time. I want my podcast. I want to see my people talk. All right, let me talk about Brownies in the City really, really fast. And then y'all can skip to the Joe Budden Podcast. I'll put a timestamp here or whatever. So Brownies in the City is a podcast with 3 beautiful women. A lot of them got their fame and their money from Instagram. You got Brianna Moore. I follow her because her body crazy. Jessie Woo, who I don't know too well, but I've heard her name more times than I can count. So, and this other girl, I don't know her name per se, but she has a lot of personality on the podcast. So I listened to it earlier this year, and I was just like, okay, here we go. I love it. 3 beautiful brown women, you know, doing their thing, talking about their lives. And it is giving me Sex in the City vibes. So I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is something that the world needs. This is something that we need, like, as a woman, black woman, especially when you're out here making money, dating, and, you know, you have somebody you can relate to out here. But they got some drama this week because I guess people don't want to contribute to the podcast as much as other people. It seems like from what I'm telling, and first off, everything is my opinion. Not to say they're facts, they're just what I've been seeing. And yeah, so don't take anything that I'm saying like to heart, but this is just my opinion. Okay, so I'm seeing on Brownies in the City is ended. It was on Jessie Woo's YouTube, and I'm looking at that like, what do you mean you're ending? You know, what's going on? So apparently, from what I can tell after listening to her video, that the other 2 co-hosts, they just weren't putting in as much effort as she anticipated or hoped they would, and so the podcast ended. Apparently there were screenshots. I have not found them. I did go look for them. I cannot find them. I guess they were on somebody's story. Whatever. And then one of the co-hosts went on live literally that evening with Brianna. I forgot the girl's name. I'm so sorry, girl. But you have a really great personality. And she's just funny to me. She's just funny to me. I like people who are just funny, you know? And pretty much they were just kind of going in. They were like, she's been posting stuff all day and I'm tired and I don't want to do that anymore. And somebody just mad because they can't keep their man. First off, y'all ruining a really good concept of a podcast because you guys are like throwing shade and all that stuff. My thing is, podcasts take a lot of work. For me, I tried to start a podcast with my own sister, and that was just not working because she literally told me from the start, really after episode 1, that her heart wasn't in it. Like, I literally got up, scheduled the time, edited the podcast, and posted it. All I wanted her to do was to record with me and promote it. She has like a really large Instagram following, and I wanted her to promote it. And I just said, hey, I will do all the work. All I need you to do is promote it. And she was like, I'm a little overwhelmed. I really don't want to do it. And, you know, I can't do it, Jackie. Fine. Left it like that. We have 1 episode, and it's on SoundCloud. I will not post it here because I feel like it's some gold in that episode, but I don't need those problems right now. Anyway, I hope you girls get it together. If you, I don't know, they may or may not be able to get it together. They didn't throw too much shade at each other. It just shows that someone is working harder than the other. And my thing is, podcasts take a lot of work. And if you do want to be successful in it, you got to at least do your part. If you're not editing the episodes, if you're not participating in creating content, at least promote. You ladies have a large following, so promote that shit, you know? And I hope y'all get it together. Like I said, I don't know everything that has transpired in that situation. All I know is, hey, you know, it's sad to see a really nice podcast go. There should not be no shade thrown. It really should be respectability politics, but people getting messy. And when people are messy, things, you know, get bigger than they need to be. You start fires that you don't mean to start and you can't put out. But overall, it just seemed like a really, really good podcast. And I'm sad because that is something that I feel like a woman like me would need, because first off, there's so many things we need to talk about today. We need to talk about these high value men, this femininity movement. We need to talk about the relationships between black men and black women and why we are just not getting it together. We need to talk about like spirituality and religion in a sense when it comes down to modern day black people, especially people our age who are going towards their 30s. Like, we need it. But whatever, I hope you guys get it together. If not, hopefully Jesse can find people that would be able to be transparent and open and honest and just really, you know, give it to you guys. But yeah, all right. I want to talk about Joe Budden Podcast really fast. I love this podcast. I watched it when Marissa was on the podcast. If you don't remember who Marissa is from the Joe Budden Podcast, then you haven't been watching. You need to start from the beginning. But in the beginning, you had Marissa, you had Rosenberg from the radio station, and then you had Rory. Rory came in a little later, I believe. Just a little bit later, but still the first year. They were in there doing their thing. And I really did like that podcast. But before I get into it, let me just give my overall thoughts on the Joe Budden Podcast as a whole. I really do like that podcast. That podcast is not built for me as a woman. It's not a woman podcast. It is a man podcast. It's just, I call it a barbershop podcast. A barbershop podcast is a podcast for men, and it's built for men. And, you know, if you are going to sit here and listen to these conversations, you're going to be, as a woman, you got to be prepared to hear some stuff you're not going to like. There is some toxicity in there. It's like funny toxicity, but low key, you know them niggas. You know, okay. See why your life is like this, you know? But I enjoy it because there is some level of transparency there, and you know, you just gotta enjoy really good chemistry and really good conversation. But baby, the chemistry is off. The chemistry is so off. I can't even. I'm so sad. And the thing about it that makes it bad is it is Joe's fault. It's Joe's fault. And the thing about it that people do not want to understand and want to accept, it's Joe's fault. It's literally Joe's fault. Like, I look crazy with my little bonnet on and stuff, but look, bitch, go to my Instagram, go to all that. You know I'm not ugly. Anyway, but right now the podcast is not doing its thing right now. The podcast is off. Like, I have not listened. Like, I have listened just to see what's going on, but the podcast has been off for a while now. The chemistry has been off. And that's because of egos and respectability politics again. And you know who's the main culprit? And nobody wants to hear this, but it is Joe. Joe has a very long history of being transparent, being open and honest, but then when it comes down to him admitting his own wrongdoings, he will not do it, especially when he feels like he is under attack. It is a straight ego trip for him. And yes, this is his podcast. His name is on the podcast. And his whole life is in this podcast. But at the end of the day, the podcast, you're not filming. You're not editing. You're not sitting there and having conversations with yourself. You're not sitting and talking into a mirror. Your podcast is literally built off of other people, your chemistry with other people. And when your chemistry is off with other people, your podcast does not move. You might as well be sitting in your closet with your microphone or in the studio booth, Joe, and just go. Hand it off to somebody and just do it like that. But unfortunately for your podcast to be the Joe Budden Podcast, it's a conversation. It's a barbershop podcast starring you with other people you need to have genuine chemistry with. And my thing is, to have genuine chemistry and be with other people, you need to respect them. You need to let people talk, get their point off, and then you go in. It's like, I really do enjoy Rory as a person. I enjoy Rory as a person because not only does he talk about his own issues, but he looks outside of himself when it comes down to certain situations. He plays devil advocate in certain arenas, and he comes from different topics like relationships and arguments and things like that from a different perspective, and just offers that. But when it's a concept that Joe doesn't understand or fully realize, he kind of suns him. And I know he's younger than him, and it's I don't want to be that person, but it's sometimes I feel like because he's white, he feels like he could just talk to him any old type of way. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't want to know. That's probably, I don't know. I don't want to put nothing out there that isn't what it is. But from what I'm seeing, from what Jackie sees, it just shows that they're both it just shows that Joe does not have a level of respect for Rory that Rory has for Joe. And I think Joe does appreciate Rory as a person, but he does not give him the respect that he deserves. That dude, as young as he is, he makes money moves. He makes great business decisions, and he has a good head on his shoulders. He's going through a lot right now, and I do feel like he needs the platform to express himself and for it to be an escape. But unfortunately, the podcast has not been his escape, and the fact that Joe has not been able to allow him to speak and talks over him and really belittles his thoughts and processes is kind of sad, and I feel bad about it. Maul already knows what it is. Maul came in definitely well after Marissa left. Ugh. But anyway, yes, it goes back to chemistry and respectability politics. Before the podcast was Ish and Ice or whatever, and so yeah. So before it was Ish and Ice, there was Rory and Maul, and before Rory and Maul, there was Rosenberg and Marissa. Okay? Rosenberg and Marissa were on the Joe Budden Podcast, and if you listen from the start, because I listened from the start, I listened when I was back in Chicago, because I actually love podcasts. I believed in podcasts when they first started coming up, and I'm like, no, we need podcasts. I love podcasts. I love to speak. I love to talk. Hopefully one day I can make a podcast, but I don't know who'll listen, but I love podcasts. I love when people can express themselves and talk and have transparent conversations and just things that you can't talk about every day because it's not enough room and space to speak. This can be your opportunity to speak. This is your platform to speak. But yes, before there was Rory and Maul, there was Marissa and Rosenberg. And Joe, for the same reason that Rory and Maul are at this, there's this tension and there's this in the air, is literally because of Joe. I respect Joe as a business guy. He's always ahead of the curve. He started the YouTube video blogging before anybody. When people was calling it lame, he was the first person to do it. He jumped on this podcast game before anybody else. And how many hip hop podcasts do you see now? So many, because of Joe. And then when Joe has open, honest conversations, when his ego is not involved, some of the best content. But when his ego is involved and when he feels like his back against the wall, he feels like he has to defend himself. And I don't know if it's because he felt like he had to defend himself all his life, but he feels like when someone is on the outside with him, they just want him to be wrong. So he's not going to give it to them. Angle, he's going to use projection. He's going to gaslight. He's going to deflect to make sure that you know that to end up making you apologize to him, turning the situation around to make it seem like you're doing the problem, that it's your problem. You're the problem because you have a problem. That there it goes. He makes it seem like because you have a problem or if you have an issue, you're the problem, not him. And that's fucked up. Friends should be able to tell friends when they're messing up. And friends should be able, especially people who don't have severe ego issues, step out of themselves. Pull out of themselves. Look at the situation. Look at your patterns. If you consistently point the finger at everybody else for the issues that you're having and the reasons why a lot of your relationships are failing, if you don't own up or figure out if it was, man, I had it right here. But pretty much, if you don't sit up here and think about shit, like literally just think about it, like if you feel like every single relationship that ended was not your fault, it's your fault. If you feel like every problem someone has with you and it's a consistent thing or it's a constant thing and it's always the same thing that pops up, no matter who the person is, if it's your relationship, if it's your friends, if it's your coworkers, if it's anything else, and if it's a situation where you have a problem and not even you have a problem, but if they are having a problem and there's all these people with the same type of problem but in different scenarios and it involves you, and if you don't take any accountability and you don't step out of yourself and realize like where's this pattern coming from, it's you. I think I have a problem with people who don't see that. It takes a lot of maturity and it takes a lot of self-work to realize like, man, you know, I really do, there's a pattern about this. And every time something happens like this, I know, and it's a different person, I know there's got to be something here within me. I got to fix that. Like for me, I'll take accountability. Like a lot of my relationships sometimes ended with someone not being faithful, but then sometimes I felt like I have to take accountability for the relationships because I felt like I checked out. You know, I don't mean to throw myself into this, but it's like sometimes you got to realize when you are the problem. If you literally have multiple people having similar issues with you, but in different arenas, you got to step back and be like, there's a pattern here. And that pattern and that common denominator is me. I mean, I hope the best for the Joe Budden podcast. I really do appreciate I feel like they were really building something big. I definitely feel like they were bigger than Spotify, and they definitely could be bigger than Spotify. It does take Joe to be a businessman, and he does have to make decisions, but also to make things work, you know you're going to need multiple people in your corner. This Joe Budden network is bigger than Joe now. Unfortunately, this Joe Budden network is bigger than Joe, because if anybody else, you know, it's not a one-man show. It's not. He needs to step back. He needs to hire the right people. He needs to go to therapy. He probably is already in therapy. I don't like telling people they need to go to therapy. I feel like that's a quick, like, you know, counter strike to people. Like, of course, there's a lot of mental health that we need to focus on, but don't just tell people you need to go to therapy. No, you need to tell people, like, if therapy is needed, why. Joe, and I know he goes to therapy. Actually, let me not get into that man's personal health reasons, but overall, from what I'm seeing, he has a major ego issue, and right now he's building something bigger than himself. He's building something bigger than Joe Budden the artist, bigger than Joe Budden the podcast. He's building Joe Budden the network. The network is going to take more than just Joe Budden showing up. The network is going to take more than just Joe Budden speaking in the mic. It's going to take multiple pieces to work. And if he does not check himself and realize, hey, you're going to end some shit. You're going to bring this whole thing down. And my thing is, he does have the right to break everything down because it is his name on it. But if he does not and take heed to this warning, and I'll predict it, y'all, his ego will make him step back and say, you know what? I'll end all this shit right now. I'll drive off the cliff right now. That's how big that man's ego is. He'll literally be like, yes, I am building a multi-million-dollar network, but I'll end all this shit right now because I want to be right. Because I'm right. I feel slighted. Okay, Joe. Do what you want to do. Love you. Can't wait for the next project. Don't know how many years that'll take, but can't wait for the next project. I'll leave it like that. But yeah, y'all, I just wanted to talk. I literally got up this morning and I was just like, y'all ruining my favorite podcast. I can't listen to this shit. Like, Rory and Mal are back on here and I listen to it and it's just so cringe to listen to. You can hear the gaslighting. You can hear the deflection. You can hear the anger. You can hear past hurt. Like this tension here, this is deeper than just take a couple podcasts off. This is going back. Mal, I hope you work things out with Joe. You said you are built differently, and me personally, I'm at a point in my life, I'm not even 30 yet, but I know that I have to protect my energy. If I don't surround myself with people who value me as much as I value them, it's not gonna work. Unless it's like literally a utilitarian relationship, it's not gonna work. If I truly see friendship and truly appreciate you as a person, I'm gonna do what I need to do. If you have a problem with me and you're coming to me like straight up, like let's talk. We can't play the games. We can't play the back and forth. We can't play telephone. We can't talk through other people. If we're really gonna be friends, we need to have these uncomfortable conversations, and we cannot wait. The world can't wait. And for those two other guys, Ice and everybody, I really do like them. They do bring a fresh take, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, like, this ain't gonna stop here. It's not gonna stop with just Rory and Mal. Trust me. Ice and Ish, like, I can see them actually making their own podcast and just really just taking the fuck off. Like, I can. It's like, as toxic as they are as people in their takes, like, I can see it taking off. But they'll do it without Joe. Let Joe do Joe. Let Joe again. Because right now Joe is Joeing. If Joe's, I can see them taking off and doing their own thing. They don't need him. They really don't. But I'll say this. You're comfortable now, but let Joe. And Joe's gonna Joe. But hopefully things work out. Hopefully he sits up beside himself and really take accountability as to what happened. And like, as a businessman, you really gotta think, especially if you're running a business, a corporation, a network, you gotta step out of yourself, step out of your ego, and just like, look, we gotta make this work. What can we do? And what can I do? Some people feel like they don't deserve respect, don't deserve an explanation. It's not your business. That's nothing. That's the stuff that you don't say when it's a whole network. It's not just you with a microphone with one camera. This is my shit right here. And nobody else can control it. You got all these people. Parks said it better himself. Parks said it eloquently. We got a podcast to run. We got a business to run. We got mouths to feed. This ego macho bullshit. This is not paying the bills. That man got a new house. He's gonna show up to work, okay? He got rent to pay, okay? So Parks, I'm so sorry. Like, you in the middle of all this shit, you just want to get paid and you want to get the work done and you just trying to stay neutral. And I feel you, bro. Good luck. Anyway, y'all, let me get off. I gotta get ready for the day. I want to do like another video today, but I'll let you guys know. Bye, y'all.